and welcome to this year's Halloween movie review. I'm Calner99, and today I'm going to be reviewing Halloween 2. As you recall, last year I did a review on John Carpenter's Halloween, which was the very first one, and this year we're going to be doing a review on Halloween 2. So yeah, let's go. So Halloween 2 was released in 1981, and this film kind of doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels more of like a long epilogue for the original film. It carries on right where the first film ended, and this is 3 years later. This film came out 3 years later after the first film, this was released in 1981. I forgot to say. This film was all the original cast members returned except for Nick Castle, who played the Shape in the first movie, and this film is once again written by series creators Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. John Carpenter refused to reprise his role as director, though, which they ended up hiring Rick Rosenthal to direct this film. Which Rosenthal is the only director to work on more than one Halloween movie before Rob Zombie became involved with the franchise. His second movie he directed was Halloween Resurrection, which I'm not even going to get into. I'll talk about that some other time. Alright, so the synopsis for Halloween 2 is, like I said, picks up precisely where the first film left off. It's like the opening shot is where the first film ended, with Michael getting shot off the balcony by Dr. Loomis, once again played by Donald Pleasence, and like at the end, the Shape disappears. It appears that he survived that fucking shootout. And Loomis is still searching for him, trying to capture him and kill him. But moments after the attack on Laurie Strode, once again played by Jamie Lee Curtis, it appears that she was taken to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital because she had suffered an injury. So pretty much literally half of this movie, she's literally just lying down healing, and she's barely doing anything. Not until moments towards the very end, she finally gets the nerve to freaking get out of bed and run away from Michael. But while she's pretty much laying in bed, the movie more focuses on Dr. Loomis and his trying to capture Michael. Pretty much, he runs off after he shoots Michael 6 times, and is once again catches up with the same sheriff that was in the first movie. And then they hear about the 3 kids that were murdered in the house directly across from the house where Laurie was attacked. They go to that house, and the first body that's carrying out is the sheriff's daughter. The sheriff sees his daughter dead, gets depressed. He starts blaming Loomis. He thinks Loomis let Michael out. And then after that, he pretty much just leaves the film completely. And then another cop sort of takes his job and helps Loomis capture Michael. However, Loomis does sort of reprise that same line like he did in the first film, only in a different way to a different sheriff. I still like the one that was used in the first film better. Probably the only one thing we get out of Laurie Strode, which we find out, is, I guess, she is the long-lost sister of Michael Myers. and she was adopted. And they wanted to seal those records up. And then they finally just realized that tonight, and I guess, yeah. So, that's why we find out Michael's after her. I guess, really, I don't get what Michael's intentions were when I first saw these movies. Either Michael just hates his fucking sisters, or something, or he just went crazy one day. I'm going with, those are both really good options of why he's doing this, but I don't know. Oh yeah. Now, I'll talk about the deaths in this movie. The deaths were, I think, a little bit more jump scary and a little bit more blood added to them, which in the first film we had little to no blood, which was okay. I thought that was a unique thing about the film. You don't need all the blood, the gore and blood and gore and all that shit. But we do get very little blood in this film. Probably in the in the first kill you see, which I thought was the most useless kill of the entire film, which was the very first one. Moments after Michael had escaped after being shot by Loomis, he wanders off to a different house in the neighborhood, into this random old couple's house, steals a knife, and then goes to the next door neighbor's house, which is where another teenager named Alice is staying all by herself. And she hears the old people scream because they just realize that their knife is missing. And she goes in and calls her friend about what's going on. And then the friend who's on the phone tells Alice about what just happened, that there were 3 bodies literally murdered right down the street from her. Michael creeps into the house, and now this is what I love about Michael. He just has so many creepy things that he's like a ninja. He appears everywhere. He just knows his ways. He creeps into the house, and I like the death, but it was just useless. What did she have to do with all of this? And he just randomly just kills a random person who really had no reason to die. And I don't even know if the news people or the police found out about her body. We never know. But they found out about the other 3 bodies that were killed in the first movie. My favorite death in this film is in the hospital. Now, Michael switches his victims from teens to adults. He starts killing off the hospital staff. My favorite, this is my favorite death from the whole movie. The one scene in the therapy room with the therapy pool, you have this random nurse and an ambulance driver are in the therapy room making their love, this was a scene with the most nudity in the whole entire series. The first film had brief nudity. It wasn't that long, but this film had more of it than any of the other films did. And I guess they're enjoying their time in the therapy pool, and Michael's back in the room where the dials are to switch the temperatures, switching it so that it gets so burning hot in there, and I guess it turns too hot in there. She makes the ambulance driver check out what's going on. Michael fucking jumps out, strangles him to death. You don't hear anything because it's behind a glass door. And he comes out to the nurse who has just gotten out, and he approaches her in sort of a weird sexual way, he comes up behind her and sort of just puts his hand on her shoulder, and she starts licking his hand. Now, my theory is he's having a flashback of when he killed his sister at the beginning of the first film. But I don't know. But when she looks back and sees that it's not him and it's Michael, he takes her. Now, by that time, the temperature of the therapy pool has gone up so hot that it literally just kills her. He dunks her down in, holds her down for like maybe 2 seconds, brings her back up, and does the same thing until she's finally dead. Now, I think that was probably the best death of this film. Michael really went to town on her. And it was different from any of the other deaths from the entire series. Probably my favorite death. Probably my second favorite death is almost at the very end, is when the night shift nurse, I don't remember her name or who she was played by, but she's the one who witnessed Laurie wandering around the hospital, and then as soon as she says that, Michael appears out of the hallway. And now in this film he doesn't use a butcher knife as much. He uses a scalpel, which was unique. I mean, it's nice to see that he uses a different weapon in this film other than the same old classic butcher knife. Like I said, I like it when he uses a knife, but it's unique to see him use a scalpel. He takes a scalpel, which is so small when you see him hold it. He literally sticks it in her back and lifts her up off the ground with a small scalpel. Has Michael been like lifting weights while he was in the sanitarium or something? Because he literally had to have so much muscle doing that. And then as soon as he's done with that, he starts chasing after Laurie, and that's when the classic chase starts of down through the bowels of the hospital. Now, finally, right at the fucking end, close to the end, Loomis finally shows up to the hospital to rescue Laurie. Until he finds out that the records were sealed about her being Michael's sister. He finally makes a move and just gets the hell up to the hospital and tries to save Laurie. Now, this scene was probably my favorite. Was when they go into that room where all the oxygen tanks are in the hospital. They hide out in there. Michael breaks through the door, sort of stabs Loomis, and he's not dead though, of course, because he's Dr. Loomis. And continues, and Laurie's just kind of sitting in a corner over, trying to keep away from Michael, but then he sort of just continues his way over here. The only reason, and then I guess Laurie just yells out his name. He just stops and just tilts, but then he keeps going. She finally loads the gun, and he gets both of his eyes shot, and you can see the blood tears dripping down his mask, which I thought that was just a cool way to stop him, other than just shooting him, because he would just get shot. In the first movie, he would just get shot, and then he would just fall down, and then he'd get right back up. This one, he's literally just got time to die, because he holds his eyes and just starts swinging the scalpel around, hoping he can kill him. But this is when Loomis makes his move. He literally starts adjusting the tanks to let all the oxygen in the air out, takes a fucking lighter, and blows up the whole entire room. Now, this is where I was like, yes, finally they killed him off. And I thought it was over. I thought it was all over. But luckily, Laurie Strode escapes out of the room before he gets to blow up the room. But he sort of almost made it out, because Michael did he came out in flames, but then just toppled down because he was burned. Now, at this point, you think, okay, he's dead. We can finally get on with our lives and not even have to worry about this dude anymore. No. And I will get to that later, in later videos. But that was Halloween 2. Now, I definitely recommend this film. If you saw the first Halloween movie, I would definitely recommend this one because I think this one is just as good. And it was just a great film. So definitely check it out. But anyway, that was my review of Halloween 2. Thanks for watching my movie reviews. I'll see you guys later.